Now, now the rectus sheath and rectus abdominis muscle. As you can see, this is the midline or linea alba. On the either side of linea alba, we have vertical muscle of anterior abdominal wall, which is rectus abdominis muscle. So rectus abdominis muscle is enclosed in a fibrous sheath. This fibrous sheath is called rectus sheath. So we have two muscles on either side of midline. This is right rectus abdominis muscle, this is left rectus abdominis muscle. Both are enclosed by the aponeurosis of flat muscles and they will form rectus sheath. So this is the anterior wall of rectus sheath. This is the anterior wall of rectus sheath. As we deflect this from the by giving a midline incision, right and left side, you will reach directly into the rectus abdominis muscle. So this muscle here is rectus abdominis muscle. So this rectus abdominis muscle is the vertical. It takes origin from the pubic anterior part of pubic symphysis and pubic crest. It takes origin from the pubic symphysis and pubic crest. It has two heads. It takes origin from by two heads. Both head runs upwards, vertically upwards, and will insert on the costal cartilages of 5th, 6th and 7th rib. 5th, 6th and 7th costal cartilage in a horizontal line. So this is the insertion of rectus abdominis muscle. It takes origin from the pubic symphysis and pubic crest. So it has two heads, middle and lateral heads. Both heads will run vertically upwards and will insert on the 5th, 6th and 7th costal cartilage in a horizontal line. So as you can see this muscle here, you will see, as you can see here, this muscle presents these white lines. As you can see here, these are called tendinous intersections. So there are mainly three tendinous intersections on the rectus abdominis muscles, or basically anterior part of rectus abdominis muscles. One at the level of umbilicus. We have cut it here. We have cut already rectus abdominis muscles through that intersection. So one was here at the level of umbilicus. Second is at the level of xiphoid process. Third in between these two. Intersections. So there are three main intersections. These are called tendinous intersections. So anterior wall of rectus sheath is adherent to the tendinous intersections. It forms a firm attachment with tendinous intersections. So there are three tendinous intersections. Now this is rectus abdominis muscle. If talking about the anterior wall of rectus sheath, the anterior wall of rectus sheath is formed by, in upper part of muscle or upper part of rectus sheath, it is formed by only one layer, which is the aponeurosis of external oblique muscle. So upper part, it is formed by only one layer, which is the aponeurosis of external oblique muscle only. So in the middle part or the middle larger part, it is formed by two layers. Outside it is aponeurosis of external oblique muscle, or deep to it we have the outer lamina of internal oblique aponeurosis. Internal oblique aponeurosis will split into two lamina. One lamina covers the anterior surface of rectus abdominis. The deeper lamina will cover the deeper surface of rectus abdominis. So in the middle larger part of rectus sheath or the anterior wall of rectus sheath, the anterior wall is formed by two layers. Outer layer is aponeurosis of external oblique muscle, and deep to this we have the outer lamina of internal oblique aponeurosis. In the lower part or below the arcuate line we will discuss in the posterior wall what is arcuate line, but just remember, or the area between umbilicus and pubic symphysis. This level, below this level, the or we can say the anterior wall the anterior wall of rectus sheath is formed by all three aponeuroses of flat muscles. These are external oblique, internal and transverse abdominis. So anterior wall of rectus sheath is thicker in the lower part of the rectus sheath because here it is formed by all three layers of flat muscles. Middle part is formed by two layers, external oblique and outer lamina of internal oblique. In the upper part it is thinner and it is only formed by the aponeurosis of external oblique muscle. So this was the anterior wall. After reflecting anterior wall, we cut the rectus abdominis in the middle part and reflect the upper part upper side and the lower part lower side. Now here this is the posterior wall of rectus sheath. This is the posterior wall of rectus sheath. Now this posterior wall in its middle portion, again between the below the costal margin and above the arcuate line. Above the arcuate line, it is formed by two layers. Okay. So below the level of costal margin and up to the arcuate line. This is the arcuate line, which is concave downwards. Which is concave downward. This line is called arcuate line, concave downwards. This is the lower border of posterior wall of rectus sheath. The lower free border of posterior wall of rectus sheath. Below this point, rectus sheath is absent or the posterior wall is absent or devoid. Below this line. So above the arcuate line and below the costal margin, the posterior wall is formed by two layers. One, the superficial, is internal lamina of internal oblique muscles or the inner lamina, and deep to it we have aponeurosis of transverse abdominis muscles. So it is thick here or above the costal margin. Here the costal margin, as you can feel here the costal margin. Above the costal margin, again posterior wall is absent. Posterior wall is absent. So here the muscle directly rests on the costal cartilages, 5th, 6th and 7th costal cartilages. The posterior wall is absent in above the costal margin. It is also absent below the arcuate line. So below the arcuate line, rectus abdominis muscle directly rests on the fascia transversalis. It directly rests on the fascia transversalis. Clear? So in the middle it is formed by two layers, as we already told. So the lower border of posterior wall is concave downwards. This is called arcuate line. This is called arcuate line. Now this is all about the anterior and posterior wall of rectus sheath. Now what are the contents of rectus sheath? As we already told, first the main content is muscle, which is rectus abdominis muscle. Organ insertion we have discussed. Next is very important, below or the between the posterior wall and rectus abdominis muscle we have two arteries or two vessels. This is the lower part, we have inferior epigastric vessels. These are inferior epigastric vessels, and the upper part we have superior epigastric vessels. Superior epigastric vessels. These arteries, superior epigastric and inferior epigastric, they anastomose at the level of umbilicus. They anastomose with each other at the level of umbilicus. So there is anastomosis on the posterior surface of rectus abdominis. Also with these arteries or vessels, there are so many. There are lower 7 intercostal nerves. Lower 7 intercostal nerves you may also find in the rectus sheath. These low intercostal nerves will pierce the posterior lamina or the inner lamina of internal oblique muscle and will supply rectus abdominis muscle. After supplying rectus abdominis muscle, these will come out or emerge as a anterior cutaneous nerves. So these are the contents of rectus abdominis muscle. First is rectus sheath. First is rectus abdominis. Then we have epigastric vessels, superior epigastric vessels, inferior epigastric vessels, anastomosis between them, and also we have a small muscle in the rectus sheath which is absent in this body, as it is absent in 20% of people. The muscle was pyramidalis. It was triangular shaped muscles, takes origin from the anterior surface of pubis and will insert on the linea alba. So it is always present on the lower part of rectus sheath, just anterior to the rectus abdominis muscle. So here in this body, the pyramidalis muscle is absent. So this is all about the rectus sheath and rectus abdominis.